I watched evil take its course. When I was an 8-year-old child, I wandered next door to play with my friend of the same age. This was 55 years ago. Nobody locked their doors, and people just walked into each other's homes in those days. As I went through the house looking for her, and when she was nowhere to be found, I went to the backyard thinking she might be in the pool, or hoping maybe. We didn't have a pool, so I often swam with her, and in a room called a sleepout, which was the back veranda enclosed for the baby boomers. Large families. I looked to my right and saw her brother, about 10 years of age, sitting on his bed, with his father standing in front of him with his pants pulled down, and his son performing a sexual act for the father. I was surprised, as was the father, said sorry, and walked back through the house and went home, not telling anyone what I'd seen or really knowing what I'd seen. However, it wasn't until later that I sort of remembered, but also didn't fully recall either. Being summer at the time, and school holidays down here, it wasn't long before my girlfriend came over and told me that due to her chronic asthma she was going to live in the country, 3 hours away from home. She told me that her parents were concerned about her health issues, and their doctor had advised them to send her to the countryside, where the air was better for her lungs. This made us both really sad. We were best friends, played together, walked to school together, and before I knew it, within a few weeks she was gone. As I grew up, I forgot about this incident, and by the time he was 17 it was evident that he was homosexual. He was overtly gay, and some years later had left the home to live in a relationship with another man. My girlfriend eventually came back home after 3 years away, and over the years we watched our favorite shows on television, went dancing together, and shopping, but it wasn't the same. So as she was sent to a different school upon her return, our friendship was not as close. As time went on, people's lives changed, and I moved away to be married, as did she. And although we kept in touch, at age 25, I was saddened by the news that she had died. I came back to town to attend her funeral, and give my condolences to the family. She had 2 little children and had died of heart failure. Her mother was thrilled to see me, as was the rest of the family, and for a few years I would pop over so she could see me, and we'd talk about my friend and those special memories. Her eldest brother was sometimes there, and he was demonstratively gay by this time and appeared very happy. It wasn't until 23 years later that I ran into her brother at the bottle shop, in a mining town where I was working for the health department, as senior counselor of the sexual assault service. He was highly intoxicated, and was a chronic alcoholic living with his male partner, unable to get a job, living in supported living arrangements, and extremely sick. He was thrilled to see me, overtly friendly as old childhood neighbors, and due to the holiday weekend was stocking up. He introduced me to his partner, talked about his mom, and we did a basic catch-up before he waved goodbye and headed off into the night. At that time, or several years earlier, I had a vague recollection of something about him, but could never put my finger on it. It was some sort of strange knowing that wouldn't come to my full consciousness, but I'm sure he knew. I knew, and was probably the only person on this earth that shared the secret. After a couple of years, I ran into him again, which was when he found out that I was the senior counselor of the sexual assault service. And suddenly his face dropped. He went white and walked away. It was at that time that I thought how sad that he was abused, and was now obviously dependent on alcohol. I struggled with this, and after some years, I found out through friends that he had also died a sad death related to alcoholism, and lung cancer some years after that. He was about 49 at the time. Now, one day not so long ago, I was just sitting around having my morning coffee, ruminating on life as I browsed Facebook and saw photos of my girlfriend's children, all grown up with children of their own, and in the photo was the father in the background, still alive but aged in his 80s, when an intrusive memory flashed into my mind. I had no control over it, and it is known as a repressed memory. I vividly remembered the event, and for the first time in my life, I realized that he had sent his daughter away all those years ago, so I would not come over and interrupt him abusing his child. I was just about knocked of my chair, and I knew in my heart that this was true for the first time in 50-odd years. I remembered what I'd seen on that day so long ago. I tell this story because I have always thought that the father of this young boy had groomed his son, sexually abused him, and for all those years I did nothing to help him. Not to mention the realization of his father's manipulation. I am very saddened that I didn't help him, that I didn't tell anyone, although no one would have listened in those days. It hurts me to think that I could have been the evidence he needed during those times, when he thought of having his father charged with child sexual abuse, as I'm sure it would have crossed his mind, and he would have been tormented on many occasions. Truthfully, I was devastated that through my life this horrible secret had gained so much power, and horrified at the father. I never visited them after about age 30. I wish it had been different for him, and I could have done more than just watch evil take its course.